currently in Costa Rica, happily not dealing with the cold. And I am super excited for today's session. Okay, London, Glasgow, awesome. Also London, cool. And while people are just kind of settling in to the space, I will go ahead and share my screen. Someone's from Munich, Germany. That's awesome. Sam from South Africa, London, North Wales, Bristol, UK, mostly cold places, although the winter is really pretty there. London, cool. Thank you all for joining. I'm excited to spend the next hour. This is a topic that I'm really passionate about and that I think is a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's see if we can get my screen sharing going. And we were having issues with this earlier, but I think, can everyone see my screen, just the front screen, okay? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Awesome. Yeah, I still see some people are trickling in, but I will go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to our session today on AI and biology, data ethics, and the future of healthcare. Today, we're going to explore together how artificial intelligence, especially local AI, is revolutionizing healthcare and biosciences with a strong focus on data privacy and practical applications for you all and ethics. And I've been really looking forward to this session because human biometric data is one of the areas that I interact with the most when it comes to AI and data. It's such a, I think, like fascinating and rapidly evolving field that really, when it comes to the amount of data inputs that are increasing in our world, this holds the potential to tackle some of our biggest challenges, not just in care, but in environment, how we relate to each other and manage resources and beyond to pretty much everything. And for those of you who don't know me, I know there might be some people who have been to one of my sessions in the past. Let me know if you have, but if you don't, I'll introduce myself really quick. I did my bachelor's in neuroscience, and then I spent several years researching mental health and psychopharmacology. I also earned my master's in international business, which kind of allowed me to connect the dots between science, strategy, and technology. And since then, I've been really deeply involved in the Bay Area biosphere, working with startups as both a strategist and AI developer. And in my work, I've focused on using AI to create using tools designed not just to make us more efficient, but to actually enhance how we think and solve problems and really understand the world. And before we dive into the agenda, I wanted to set the stage. Just wanted to make sure you can all see my second slide now, right? Because it's showing my first slide for me. Okay. So think about the data that you generate every day. Whether it's from your wearable devices, social media, or even your emails, how much of that data do you actually own or control? So I just wanted to get a quick question and feeler to get us started. What type of personal data are you potentially most wanting to protect or most concerned about protecting? That might be in your healthcare data, your finances, journals, or if you're someone that is comfortable sharing all of that, let me know that too, because there's kind of two ends of the spectrum in how we think philosophically about like full data transparency versus full data privacy. Yeah, Valerie said healthcare, personal and finance. Immutable data. Okay, your chat GPT. Jonathan said he does not want his chat GPT conversations to be public. Okay, well, you might find out some things about chat GPT that might make you want to stop talking to it if it's about, things that you want to keep personal, but we'll dive more into that and how your data is being used by these AI companies, because there really hasn't been a data transparency layer. Yeah, Jonathan said political beliefs and medical history. Interesting. Mohammed also said political beliefs. Yeah, I mean, the type of things that, if used against you, could Ksenia, I hope I pronounced your name right. Yeah, going off of that, you said, as long as it won't harm me, I don't mind sharing any data. Juan said medical history. Exactly. Yeah. So we will use these insights to frame our discussion today. Valerie says, identity theft across the board, everything we do is a political tell. That's interesting. And we're going to explore privacy and the role of local AI and how these tools can transform how we handle data in healthcare. And moving on. So I do want to start by answering a critical question, which is, how is your data being used when you interact with AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude? And I recently read the privacy policies for both of these tools, and what I found was not that surprising, not that great either. These are screenshots from both of their privacy policies. So both of them basically state, we collect all of your personal data, we collect your messages that you share with us. And then when it came down to disclosure, Claude has slightly stricter privacy measures. I actually thought that they were a lot more strict about privacy than ChatGPT, but they're actually kind of on par. So they kind of state that they might disclose your data to affiliates, corporate partners, service providers, business partners. So yeah, how I think about this is, if it's not something that I would want to share publicly on the internet, after knowing this especially, I'm thinking twice about sharing that information with these large language models, because you never know, it's might become kind of is public information at that point. And nothing that you share online is totally really safe. But this is where local AI comes in. So local AI tools ensure your data stays on your device. Has anyone used like Llama or Mistral? Anyone in here experimented a little bit with local AI, downloading large language models on your personal machine? And the great thing about this is that there is no risk. One says he used Llama. Yeah, it's really good. And we'll talk more about kind of how the gap is narrowing between these smaller models and open source models and the larger language models, and especially with specialized training and fine tuning and data that you give smaller models, they actually perform better than the bigger ones for those specialized tasks that you use it for. So today we're going to explore all of that, how local first tools work and why they're critical for building trust in AI systems, because I think at some point all of us will need or will benefit from having this tool in our belt, from knowing how to access local models. Oops. Oh, we were going on to that anyways. So for the agenda, this is our roadmap for today. And like I said, we'll cover data transparency and local AI. Already kind of did that. Why local first AI is essential for privacy and innovation, AI tools in healthcare, applications like wearables, diagnostics, and research, We're going to do some hands-on with 2 tools that I am very excited about working with you all and teaching you to learn how to build your own custom AI dashboard that's totally local. And we'll talk about ethics and scaling laws and future trends in Q&A, and then hopefully we'll have time for a good amount of questions, and then we'll wrap up. Sound good? Okay, let's start with a quick and bold prediction from Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, because I like to.
Where do I?
Let me know if you hear my sound as well.
Next amazing revolution is going to come, and this is going to be flat out one of the biggest ones ever. And so I told you I was going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you. And there's no question that digital biology is going to be it. For the very first time in our history, in human history, biology has the opportunity to be engineering, not science. When something becomes engineering, not science, it becomes less sporadic and exponentially improving. It can compound on the benefits of the previous years. And every company's contribution, every researcher's contributions compound on each other. For the very first time, we know how to represent biology, understand the language of biology. We can represent the language of chemistry. It's never happened before. And I'm very proud to say that NVIDIA is, at the center of all of that. And we've made it possible for some of this breakthrough to happen. And now we're going to have incredible tools that brings the world of biology, which is very chaotic and random, or not random, but very chaotic and constantly changing and very diverse and complex, obviously, and bring it into the world of computer science. And that is going to be profound. And so if you happen to love this intersection, I think it's going to be rich with opportunities. It's going to be a giant industry.
Yeah, super exciting. He's saying basically biology is turning into engineering, and that's because of AI and our ability to make predictions and actually understand the genetic code and the code of life to be able to manipulate it at a level that's unprecedented, that we haven't been able to before. And I put those 3 words: convergence, acceleration, and innovation. And all of this will reshape healthcare, from precision medicine to synthetic biology. Yeah, the world is accelerating. And he said the word digital biology, so I hadn't really heard that used a lot. I made a mind map with Claude. So what does he mean by that? And it gave me these topics: AI-driven research, computational biology, synbio, precision medicine, digital twins, interesting, high performance and quantum computing, all kind of centered around the theme of data as the foundation of AI-driven biology. If it's how I made this mind map, because this is a little tip that I do. If I look up like a research paper, I'll give it to Claude or ChatGPT, whichever I'm using, and I will say, create a mind map of this topic, and really helps me visualize. It gives me it in Markdown, and then you go to Mark Map. And being able to see and represent data very quickly and grasp topics in a way that we haven't been able to before. And now that we're talking about healthcare, let me ask you, who here wears a health wearable? Maybe it's an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring or a Whoop in San Francisco, which I'm not at right now. Happily, I'm in Costa Rica, but Whoop is super, super popular. And biometric wearables in general, people love self-tracking. And so do I. Yeah, a lot of people are giving thumbs up. So yeah, these devices are everywhere. They monitor our heart rates, our sleeping patterns, and our activity levels. And we're entering a world where data can literally become anything. There's sensors everywhere, more and more, integrating into our houses, into our bodies, collecting and analyzing data from our environment and from us, and even treating it as a language. All of these different things, DNA is a language, EEG signals are a language that also can use transformer-based architecture, just like large language models, to be able to track patterns and to really come to large scale conclusions that humans can't from looking at so much data together. And the really exciting part, I think, about this is that AI can use this data to transform healthcare. And wearables already are enabling early disease detection and personalized health insights, and also accelerated research, which I'm really excited about. Not only like a researcher understanding a group of participants, but we can do a lot more research on ourselves. I think it's time to get really curious and kind of start asking, what do we want to know, or what do we want to optimize? And really look at ourselves, because I think for a lot of the recent history in healthcare, at least, it's been really like handed off to the doctor. They'll make the decisions for me. But no, we need to take this ownership over our own data and our own health, with help, of course, and that support. I saw that Valerie said, I don't wear biometric wearables because I believe if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. And they were paying into big pharma to solve it. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think you're saying the data is going to big pharma potentially. And Lindsay said, yeah, interesting to consider the privacy of the LLMs for our own data, but also researchers' output. Like, we're uncomfortable supplying our own journals, but happy to share other people's hard work. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I guess it all depends on, I mean, we're comfortable sharing our hard work too, but maybe if it's not our best work. So yeah, like Valerie said, that's really the central question in all of this. There's so much potential, but are you okay? Are we okay with marketing companies or big tech having access to our health data? Especially when it comes to, we're getting into augmented reality and have real-time pupil tracking analysis that just like can hook straight into your brain and market straight to your individual needs. Maybe it's a really good thing if it's done right. You don't even have to think about what you need and you have it already. But it can also obviously go very wrong if we don't do it consciously. And I think there's a lot of people who are kind of standing up to this and realizing that they do have a choice. And this is where local AI is really coming in to change the game with all of this. So instead of sending sensitive health data to the cloud, I mean, this isn't even an option currently with Apple Watch. Apple is really good at privacy, but I believe in the near future, we will have wearables, and this is something that I've been working on in the past year, that we'll be able to process and analyze data locally. And all it really comes down to is AI models getting small enough and powerful enough to fit on our phones, and we can have completely closed loop systems that data doesn't leave anywhere, and we completely own it, and we can sell it if we want to. So yeah, especially with kind of all of this data, I think right now we want to send a lot of this to our doctors, but the AI will sort of become the doctor. And I think the role of the healthcare professional in healing will become a lot more human oriented and a lot more compassionate and empathetic, rather than like the really algorithm driven model that we have. So yeah, later in our demo today, I'll show you how to create a Streamlit dashboard that allows you to analyze and interact with exactly this type of health data securely and privately. Game changer for personalized medicine and AI research. And as Sarah Gottfried, who's a physician and author, said, the future of healthcare is the democratization of data, and advancements in biometric wearables, patient-generated data, and secure data sharing are paving the way for this future. Yeah, medicine becoming more patient-centered rather than, I wouldn't say that it's not patient-centered, but there's a lot of capitalism involved that is hard to get away from. And I'm really excited about this. As someone, I was once interested in becoming a doctor for mental health, for psychiatry, and then I actually decided to pursue more the neuroscience and AI route, because I believe AI is such a powerful tool for self-help and self-reflection, and does things and will continue to improve in a way that modern psychiatry just doesn't really reach yet. And yeah, I studied psychoneuroimmunology and how the patient-doctor relationship is really the most important thing in the outcome of healing, which seems kind of crazy, but rather than the treatment itself across pretty much any illness. So what even is your data? What data do you all collect in yourselves? We talked about health wearables already in journals. Anita said, has the AI ethics been made into law, like medical ethics in research and clinical practice? Yeah, I mean, Congress has been always working on that, but they're always behind the innovations, which I think is kind of a good thing in this area. I've actually been to a couple of like governance meetings in San Francisco where local like politicians would come and talk with tech leaders, just to learn the various sides of, you know, how do we balance innovation versus safety. And I've kind of seen an interesting shift where in the beginning, I moved about 2 years ago to San Francisco, right when ChatGPT came out, best time, I think. And there was a big shift from a really strong focus on safety and let's pull back, and then kind of going the opposite way and like really questioning, what does AI ethics mean? And we'll talk more a little bit about that later today, but it is a really interesting question around, you know, who gets to decide what that means. And I think on some level, collecting data on ourselves with our wearables, with our journals, holds us accountable, because data creates transparency, and it also has the ability to uncover patterns. And what AI does really, really well is uncovering patterns. Lindsay said, I track commute times on Strava. I love Strava and my spending habits using open banking. Also have a spreadsheet of my energy consumption. Oh, that's awesome. Wow, I was looking into tools for doing that and then it seemed kind of complicated, but I feel like going old school is the way. Okay. Oh yeah, and yeah, that's what I think is, you know, we're having more and more aspects of our life being tracked by this external entity that can really be a force to help us if we engage with it. And that's what I really call our second brain. This is my second brain. This is a picture of my second brain in my obsidian. It's just a part of it, but that contains a lot of personal journals and things like that. So I haven't integrated ChatGPT with that database because I don't want to share that. But with the tools that I'm going to talk to you all about today, I've actually started to build a really cool system with that. So Ramsha says, collect health-based data, weight, BMI, KP, kilometers I walked, hours I sleep. Yeah, and it's so helpful to have that data. We just have a whole greater level of, sorry, this chat box is like in front of the screen. Greater level of transparency over ourselves and our actions and our health. Yeah, I took a course called Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. So if you are interested in that topic, I would definitely recommend looking into him. It's all about building really an actionable information system for yourself. And I've just seen generative AI as a really natural extension of that, both augmenting my work, my personal reflection, my insights. And I could talk way more about this. I'll move on. I could go for an hour about that. As an extension of this second brain, which is really like the collection of notes and data that you have on yourself, your external knowledge base. Your phone includes this. Different tools that you can use to host AI models include these three, which are the second two are kind of more prominent. If a lot of you probably have heard of Ollama and LM Studio, and these softwares I've used in the past. These are really hosting tools, so they make it easier for you to host a AI and download it onto your machine and then interface with it. And I've found Misty recently, and I just think it blows LM Studio and Ollama out of the water in terms of its ease of use, its UI. It has built-in RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. So if you ever see AI apps, ChatGPT, when it first came out, you couldn't upload PDFs. And a lot of local models don't, if you were to use that in your terminal, it would be really complicated to be able to analyze data in PDFs. So this makes it really easy and has a web integration. So that's what we're gonna just play around with a little bit today. And super easy to set up. You don't need to code. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with code. Some of you might be new to it. So at this point, I'm gonna invite you all to, and this is gonna be a tool that will be amazing and super helpful for you to access pretty much any local AI model. And I'll follow along with you to go to www.mistymsty.app. I think if I share my screen from my browser. So we're gonna go on to Misty and click download. I've already done this. And when you do that, for whatever machine that you have, it will ask you to download Gemma, which is Google's local AI model. It comes integrated with this, so that will be the first model to download. So go ahead and download Misty, and then when you get to sort of the setup, click download Gemma. Let me know if any of you have issues with this. And once you get to that point, it'll take a few minutes, and then I will talk a little bit more about this. Gemma 2B. And yeah, I would say like Ollama is still great. LM Studio was awesome when I used it first a while ago, because it was the first type of these tools to be able to compare models side by side. So that's another really cool thing, is you can run two local or more, however many you want, next to each other and see how the outputs differ from each other. And you might have heard of Hugging Face too, but that's a little bit of a different tool. It's kind of more of a community, also more of a back-end resource for you to fine-tune your own models. Amazing resource as well. These are more of a local GPT server. And it is a local model, so no data leaves your device. I'll go ahead and share. Is this downloading? At what point in this are you guys? Let me know if you have Gemma downloaded. Yeah, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay. Okay, who here is this your first time using a local AI or local large language model on your computer? Okay, Suad says I am lost. If you, okay, yeah, a lot of people first time. Awesome, super exciting. Suad, if you let me know a little bit about what you're experiencing, I can try to help. Okay, cool. Super exciting for everyone's first time because this is the tools and the interfaces evolve. I would say that Misty is the best evolution of this so far. And this will be like a sidekick for you for at least probably the next year. So Sujit said, good question. When you say local models, is it also because it can't access internet or get updates? Yes, usually, yes, this is the case, but actually Misty has a real-time data internet access integration. So if anyone uses Perplexity, which I love as a alternative to Google, it kind of makes it like a local Perplexity. So that function will be let it access the outside interwebs, and you can turn that feature off as well. But this is also another cool feature of this tool, whereas the other ones don't have that. Okay. Oh, you said I can't find the app. So if you download it, it should be, you should, I don't know if you have a Mac or a Windows, because I have a Mac, so it might be different. But if you click the download, you'll probably have to put it into your applications folder, and then you'll be able to access it. Yeah, Jonathan, good question. How does it differ from ChatGPT? Is it less powerful, less insights, decreased learning ability? Okay, I'm actually going to share my screen again because my next slide shows some benchmarks that directly addresses that. So let's see. We'll get that shared really quick again. Oops. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. Okay. Yeah, this is a good segue to talk about benchmarks really quick. So of course, not all AI models are created equal, and choosing the right model for your use case is critical. But luckily there are really good benchmarking tools to guide you. I've listed some of the ones here, and the thing is, it's always kind of changing. So here was, I actually took these yesterday, and if you want to look on your own at the benchmarking resources, these are a few of the top ones: Live Bench, EQ Bench, which is a more emotional intelligence one. The Feral one is actually around family relations. So how well does the AI understand relationships between people? And that last one is called Zebra Logic. It's Hugging Faces benchmarking tool. And there's a big industry around creating AI benchmarks, or what's also we can call evaluation. So basically grading the AIs on their performance on a number of different metrics that we care about as humans and for what tasks we're using them for. And people also will create programs for benchmarking. So there's really thousands and thousands of these different benchmarking programs. So let's say if you really wanted to say you really need a AI that is a knowledgeable architect, and you're like building on a topography and it needs to know about the soil and things like that and how to build, someone's probably developed a benchmark that evaluates its skills in architecture. So this graph on the left with live bench, I believe this one was evaluating its performance on code. So the red bars are the open source models that you can download on your computer. And the blue ones are the API ones, or the ones that we're used to using. Oh, Jonathan said, where can we access this data? I'm assuming you mentioned, or you were referring to the benchmarks. So yeah, it's just these resources, and there's more of them as well. And as you can see, like Meta Llama 3.1 is pretty much on par with the state of the art, including ChatGPT 4 Omni. For this is the largest AI benchmark. So, and this, to be clear, wasn't the case a year ago, probably even kind of 6 months ago was when the smaller local, especially llama models, started catching up a lot to the big large language models. And I think this gap is a lot of people's prediction in the space is continuing to just narrow, and there won't really be a meaningful difference. And already the local models that you can download are state of the art. So actually this EQ bench parameter actually had Meta Llama 3.1 as #1, performing above Claude 3.5 Sonnet and GPT-4 Omni and GPT-4 Turbo. So in terms of emotional empathy and creative writing, it actually performed better, and it's free, and you can use it without internet and on your computer. And this one on the bottom right was one of those kind of smaller benchmarks that someone created, and I did this data visualization to lay it out between all of the different industries. So this was a really like STEM specific one where it was solving problems around, yeah, like hardcore STEM. And all of the models that were tested were local models. So this was just comparing those, and it found that Mistral performed really well. The Open Hermes, which is another version of Mistral, just more fine-tuned, performed really well. And this is something where you can play around with AIs and just kind of see how you feel. And also, if it is a really kind of mission critical thing where you want it to be consistent, then checking out how are the performances. But I would say that Mistral, Llama, those are really good, especially Mistral for code and data analysis. And how are people doing with getting onto the app and everything? Cool, okay. So I'm not going to be able to spend too much time walking it through with you, but I did want to just share a couple of cool things. Sajid said, when you say local models are free, you mean there are no token limits at all. Within Misty for now, Gemma 2B is fully free. Yeah, I mean, you're paying the cost of your electricity. So that's what, I guess it's not free completely, like the energy comes from somewhere. But mostly, yeah. If you were to have a lot of people running off of that, it would be a lot of compute, and you would have to probably put it in like an AWS cluster. So if you were to want to host a larger local model, you can use one of these cloud platforms like AWS. Elodie said, what does percent correct mean exactly as a measure of model performance? I think in the percent correct, in the bottom in the bottom right model performance STEM one, they were actually giving them like science tests. So it was the percent correct of questions that they were getting correct. And then I'll share my screen with you really quick and show you Misty. I'm really excited about finding Misty because I was having a lot of difficulty with just the integrations with Llama and having a more streamlined experience for you all. So I was doing research and I found this, and so I'm loving it. Jonathan says, is it correct to assume that models which perform better have had better training data? Good question. I have a slide on this later. I will say tentatively, no. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So a couple cool things about this platform. Everything that you say and you type, it's all in your machine. You can give it prompts. So kind of like if you were to do a custom GPT, you can give it personas, you can upload files, and you can also, up here is where you can split the chat. So you could say, do llama on one side and Gemma on the other. And let me say, like, hi, what's your favorite thing to do? I mean, just to see what the different, I think that Gemma is actually really good orator, but a little bit slower, clearly. So you can see how they differ from each other. And something else that I wanted to show you, because nothing else that I've seen has this feature, and it's something that I've been wanting for just ChatGPT. So if you want to look into something more, so, you know, I'm interested in Arenal Volcano National Park, I can highlight it and then right click, and then they have this delve feature. So then you can go into a rabbit hole. And right now I don't have any access to real-time data. So this is all data that it has already been trained on. So it's not recent, but this doesn't need to be recent. So I can look up this national park and then, oh, I want to learn more about geology. And so I can go into rabbit holes like that. And then you can see visual maps, a lot to explore, but just wanted to get you all onto this platform and for you to really explore it as well your own. Okay, I will go back to screen sharing my slides. I see a couple of questions. Yeah, Suji said, I guess Misty is more of a wrapper. Right, so it's the UI on top of the large language model. Exactly. And will Misty continue to learn as I use it? Okay, so I guess I should share my screen again for this. Misty itself won't learn on its own, but let's see if I can. A really important feature of this is your knowledge stack. So you can tell it information about yourself, and you can, yeah, I've just started getting into this, so I haven't used any knowledge stacks yet, but you can give it information about yourself so that you can then give access if you want to in a certain conversation or scenario, or always to a certain AI. And so in that sense, that's what we call retrieval augmented generation. It's just where the AI model has access to an external knowledge base that it can use that goes into the prompt query to give you the output. All right. And then I'm assuming, oops, sorry about that. So anything that you want to stay private, this is an awesome tool. Okay. And then another really quick tool that I wanted to just kind of gloss over, Streamlit. Who here has heard of Streamlit? Okay, it looks like no one has heard of Streamlit. I think Grav has already worked on Streamlit. Cool. Yeah, I love Streamlit. My housemate is good friends with the guy who wrote the book on Streamlit, Tyler Richards, and it's a super great way to create apps locally with just Python code. So the amazing thing about this is that you can integrate this with generative AI really well, especially with if you want to just spin up visual web apps or dashboards really quickly. It's really good for interactive visualizations and integrating AI-based tools. And something that I like to do is with Claude or with ChatGPT is if I have data that I want to visualize in some way, I'll ask, hey, can you give me the code for a Streamlit app? And then I can go into an app and then actually like play around with the data in a visual format. That's super cool, super amazing. So I would encourage you to check out their gallery of what projects people have created. And then because we don't have a ton of time to get fully into Streamlit right now, I wanted to just give you all a prompt that you can use to generate custom Streamlit apps in seconds just by describing what you want. And you can integrate any type of data analysis, like one-way ANOVA, two-way ANOVA, linear regression just by asking. And so this prompt that you see here, I'm going to share you all a Google Doc. And I will show you what it looks like in a moment. So this is kind of the general prompt. So if you want to have an app that can visualize data, oops. And I had generated a medical data set for this Streamlit app, and then created one with ChatGPT and one with Perplexity. Let's see if we can go back onto here. So I see a lot of people on this document. Yeah, so this was the general prompt. This was an example. Here was an app I created, and this was the code output that ChatGPT gave me. And I used this medical data set. So basically all I did was take this code and put it into my code editor, which I like to use Cursor, and then click or type in Streamlit run the app, and basically you come up with a interactive visualization. I already put the CSV. Let's see if it's still there. Okay. Let me re-upload it. So just to show you, and this was done within pretty much 15 minutes. Oh, if I can download this. Medical data set. And it uploaded a preview of the data. So this is something where, and in this code that it gave me, it's just kind of an XY axis graph. So I can click any of the parameters. So if I'm interested in BMI, and let's say anyone have a preference, say smoking status. So this is interesting because I can see, it seems like, and we would have to do more data analysis on this, but that the people who had never smoked tend towards the higher BMI. I don't know, I guess nicotine is a weight loss drug. This was one example, and then another one that Perplexity made me with a few iterations was this one. So I had a bunch of different types of plots, and having this level of granularity and just ability to really quickly look at a bunch of different parameters of interest, I think lets you know like where's really worth looking into more. So this like already kind of shows some trends, and you can kind of play around like that. But I wish that I could dive more into Streamlit because it's so awesome, but I will leave you all with this prompt, and I'm sure that if you have any issues putting the code into a text editor, I know a lot of you are experienced with that. Maybe some of you are new to it, but working with large language models like ChatGPT helps with that. All right. And then, let's see, we have 8 minutes left. How are you all feeling with the two tools that we just went over? Any questions on that? Is Missy going online to get answers to my questions, or is literally all of it's local? Yeah, that's totally a fair question. It is just to get answers to your questions. Some people get kind of worried about it and just keep it off all the time, but that's the intent. And I will say we went through a lot, and I do have a lot more of slides and material that we probably won't get to, but I'm going to breeze through some of this more interesting examples around how AI is being used for biometric data in the San Francisco Bay and elsewhere, really transforming data insights. And some of these examples, a lot of you have probably heard of AlphaFold. So AI has already proven its success in protein language modeling, really treating protein and DNA as a language. Yeah, how it does that is processes just vast amounts of literature and synthesizes it to new directions. And another example of that is EVO, which was the first publicly released biological foundation model, which was super cool. You can go there and you can generate DNA fragments and use that, or the whole hope and the goal is to be able to generate CRISPR plasmids like that. And this was a great article by Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, titled, "This is how AI will transform the way science gets done." And he talks about how automated laboratories use AI to conduct experiments with minimal human intervention, and self-driving labs, those kinds of things. Michael Levin used machine learning for creating new hypotheses in the latent space between neuroscience and developmental bioelectricity. These were his examples of his prompts. He literally just did this by prompt engineering, and it was a really cool published paper. And now, I don't remember who asked this, but around the AI scaling. So will more data make the model better, basically? And that has been the common idea in the AI space. And so that's been kind of what the companies have been doing, is scraping the whole internet, getting as much data as they can, training the models on all of it. And the AIs have been improving. But we've hit the limit, which I've been, it's funny because yeah, I feel like this was going to be the case, and GPT improvement is now slowing down. So just last month in October, the co-founder of Anthropic, which makes Claude, wrote this beautiful article called Machines of Loving Grace. He really dives into biometrics and neuroscience and how AI will transform those fields. And he talks about the scaling laws and how he didn't think that there would be a limit to that, but only 1 month later, OpenAI is shifting its entire strategy now, as its rate of AI improvement has slowed down a lot. And so what I believe is the insight around this is that it's really like what you put in, what you get out. And so the shift is towards more high quality data, curated data sets that are really high quality, and you don't have junk that's in there that's going to influence the response, because a lot of what's been put into the current big models has been synthetically generated data as well, which kind of strays us more away from truth in the world. So higher quality data is better, and there will be a lot of money in the industry of curated, well-curated, valuable data sets to train these sorts of models on. And we already know that smaller models perform specialized tasks better than larger ones that they're trained on. Yeah, like I said before, I did psychopharmacology research and I would score by hand videos of rats and we would watch them with a stopwatch and stop and start them. Yeah, that's obsolete now, which is awesome, just a few years later. Another one, this really segues into ethics, which I will just kind of close touching on, but which is organoid intelligence and the integration of biology into our computing devices, into our technology. And obviously there's a lot of ethical questions around not just organoids, but everything around AI. It's huge. There's people leaving companies around this. And yeah, a problem is who gets to determine what's ethical or not. But when we talk about AI ethics, especially in healthcare and biology, it's about the choices we make of how we want to use it responsibly. And a few topics in that area are data privacy, what we've focused a lot on today, AI systems process sensitive data, bias and fairness, is it having diverse and representative data sets that it's trained on, responsible developments. I think I meant to say HIPAA there. So like HIPAA compliance, and is it going to be responsible, or a company is going to be responsible with your data? Transparency, I think, yeah, on that note, I think with OpenAI, it's been a little bit of a topic where, yeah, people have been leaving over ethical issues over the use of data there. So yeah, transparency, is it really fair, secure, and aligned with human values? So the alignment can be in kind of a lot of different ways, like implicit biases, how the data is handled, how the metadata is handled. In my circle, there's been some diverse approaches to this. Jonathan said, when will Misty catch up with that? I want to use it more to protect my data. Catch up with what? Sorry, I think I missed what it was. And yeah, do we use love-based rewards? Have AI want to go towards love, have a fear of death, all of these things. And there's a lot of ways that we try to mitigate bias, that people have done that in the Bay and in AI companies. And also by doing more interpretable models. So this is something really interesting that Quad has done. Oh, and it has hit 2. So if anyone needs to hop off, you can totally feel free. I think if you want to stay though, I'm okay to stay about like 5 minutes longer and then I can take a couple of questions. And I'm almost done with the slides. Yeah, this has been something that's really interesting with Claude because they will literally upregulate different neurons in the neural net. And so they created like a Golden Gate Claude where anything you ask it, it just returns an answer that is related to the Golden Gate in some way. They talk about the Golden Gate. So that is in a way an effort to create more interpretable models that where you can understand at least a little bit what's going on in its brain, because just like the human brain, it's kind of a black box. And in the end, this Peter Eckersley was someone who did a lot of groundbreaking work to encrypt the web. And he founded an institute to really redirect AI's future. And he saw a future where we could make AI not just who we are, but what we aspire to be. And I think that's really necessary as a species. So, key takeaways: local AI can ensure your data privacy. AI is transforming healthcare through diagnostics and personalization. Ethical considerations are critical for AI's success. And then we went over a couple of tools briefly, but I hope that you'll get the chance to use Misty at least and maybe explore with Streamlit. And that is it for me today. I know we covered a lot. So at this point, if anyone has questions, I can take a couple of questions. Okay, and I see, I'll go in and answer some of the chat. So M Moon said, what are your thoughts about society becoming lazy and reliant on mainstream LLMs like ChatGPT that could potentially succumb to model collapse through all of the junk they are consuming and reduction of original human generated data? Yeah, I actually haven't heard of that term, but I know what you mean, which is like if you're consuming all of this synthetic data. I mean, I think a lot of people we talk about brain rot with social media. And it is a real worry where if people just kind of follow the entropy and don't really resist it, it is possible they'll stop thinking for themselves. But I think on the other hand, AI can make us think so much better. It can train us how to think if we use it the right way. If we use it to just kind of turn a critical lens on ourselves, and prompting is a big thing of that, how we interact with it, what our goals are. Yay. Jonathan says, clearly this has a lot of positive potential, but I can see the scope for some arguably negative outcomes, perhaps in markets where healthcare is largely private, like the US. Health insurance might charge higher premiums to people who do not share their data or do share it, and it reveals issues. Yeah, that is interesting. I can see that there would be a lot of pushback, but it might be something that I think of it like driving a car, though, where you don't necessarily have to have the speedometer on your car, but if you do, it can make your insurance cheaper at least. I think there would be a lot of pushback to that, but yeah, it's definitely not a great outcome. Chris said, yeah, United Health has been criticized for using AI models exactly to deny it and defer treatments that were recommended by clinicians. Yeah, they made it a lot easier to just also kind of remove themselves as humans from the situation. That's why I think I am really optimistic, and I think that the push towards more data ownership, more data democracy in healthcare is going to be big, because also we won't have as much reliance on the healthcare pharmaceutical complex at least to do the sort of diagnostics for us. I think that'll become a lot more privatized. Yeah. I don't know if Harsh Deep said, does that potential of AI mean a totally new opportunity for hackers to exploit? Yeah, I think there's always new opportunities like that. I feel like quantum computing is probably going to be a little bit more risky in that way. But it's also kind of the same thing where any information that we give to ChatGPT or Claude, hackers don't really even need to exploit it. It seems like they will willingly sell and give away your data. But it's hard. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I'm just jumping in because I can't see any more questions popping up in the chat. So yeah, if there's any more questions, please do ask them now. If not, if I don't see any come through in the next few seconds, it's been super interesting. I know a few comments have come through and a few clap emojis as well. So thank you very much. Yeah, it's been really great, and we really appreciate your time today. And yeah, bringing this AI to kind of life and bring it into the Career Accelerator. It's really appreciated. So a massive thank you. I think actually one question might have just popped through from Sujit. Can you share where you get the list of local models and their scoring? So if we end on that question, and then we will close. But thank you very much from my side.
I can add it to that Google Doc, Sujit, and if maybe we can get that sent out in an email afterwards so that everyone has access to that document. I'll put the list of the benchmarks.
Yeah, we absolutely can do that for sure. Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Jesse, and thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and enjoy the festive season as well. Thank you all.
Happy holidays, everyone.